Hello everyone, today we are taking a look at the R8 from StartFPV. That's a kind of a new company to me, but I think this one actually came out back in December, maybe even longer than that ago. And this one is cheaper on Amazon, whether you buy the kit just like I got it, which comes with a couple of batteries and a very simple charger, all the way up to with a remote. So I'm going to link down below the Amazon stuff, but you do know you can buy it directly from the manufacturer and probably other sources. But as I'm looking right now, you save $35 by buying it from Amazon, if you can, of course. I don't know where it's available everywhere, but if you're interested as we go along, keep that in mind. Amazon purchase. So it comes with everything you see here. Of course, you get the quad. You get an extra set of props, although I damaged one enough to where I needed to replace it. And the props are really difficult to get on and off. And I've been dealing with whoops for 10 years. And I was a little bit caught off guard by how difficult it was to get these on and off. Two manuals in different languages, a QC sticker, as I mentioned, the simple USB-C based charger that charges 6 at a time. The kit that I have comes with 2 batteries, but you might be able to get it with up to 4. And then we have a short little dongle which you connect to your computer that is USB-C, and you have that because there is no USB port on the bottom. The motors are 0802 20,000 kV, and on those motors are Gemfan bi-bladed props. The camera looks like the Caddx Ant, but the specs don't list this camera actually on their website, but to me that looks like a Caddx Ant camera. Hopefully it does to you too. The all-in-one flight controller is the Beta FPV Matrix G4. It's the 5-in-1, and of course it's got the BT20, which is the most popular 1S battery connection. Motors do have connectors on them, so they're easy to replace if you were to need to. We do have landing feet that should keep you off of your motor wires, but you might want to put a little piece of electrical tape over the top just to give them a little extra scratch protection. Battery holder is up top, which does bring a majority of your weight real close to the prop line, which we do like for flight purposes. Camera angle is adjustable, but I find it adjusts in crashes as well. It is an 80mm quad. Sometimes in this prop size at 40mm, there's sometimes come in at 75. Nope, this one's 80. The R8 weighs 26.31 grams, and with their battery it weighs 38.87 grams. Both of these batteries perform better, and the flight footage I'm going to show you are from these batteries. But as you can expect, these are lower C rating, which we can't always rely on the label. But I could tell you from flight performance standpoint, this is more cruise appropriate, whereas this is much more aggressive appropriate. With the Tiny Whoop 450, which has a little bit of a shorter battery lead, it weighs 37.93 grams. And with the Weebleed FPV with a longer battery lead, it weighs 37.99 grams. As is kind of my standard, I'm going to start off inside. When it comes to whoops, I generally start my actual flying outside, and then after I've done my outside flying, I bring them in. Mainly because I tend to beat them up. I crash. Inside, I crash a lot. Matter of fact, I think in the flight that I've selected here, I have at least 2 crashes, and if my memory serves me correctly, 3 crashes. I am going to talk about the quad itself, the construction and everything within the flight footage, because we'll have the inside flight, the outside flight. Oh, there's a crash. Yeah, and I'm going to talk about that. It may be handy for some of you if I'm not very clear or do a very good job trying to verbalize what I'm explaining, to see the second part of the video, which is kind of the desk review, which will be kind of a second iteration of these things. One, I don't think the video reception is as good as it could be. It's not bad, but it's not as good as it could be because the antenna placement is kind of buried. It's buried between the all-in-one flight controller, kind of, as well as the battery. And that's not ideal. They did make a holder for it, so the battery, or the antenna shouldn't pop out and get in the prop line, which is good. It's just a little kind of claw clampy thing in the back. That works out great, but I just think they could have made something up near the edge of the battery holder that would have held the antenna above the battery, and I think that would have yielded better overall video reception. Also, in this particular case, I am using the HD01 goggles with the Speedy Bee. For some reason, and I think I've solved it yet, but I wouldn't want to say just as of yet, I had troubles with the video recordings in my HD0 goggles too. Now, for most of you that, if you're not familiar, the HD0 goggles are probably the best goggles on the market, but they're also the most expensive goggles on the market. So if you like, to go with a buy one time and hope you're happy, that's the way to go. But I really like the HD0 goggles, and because I make YouTube videos, they have the industry's best DVR for recording both analog and any other input. It just does a great job with showing you what you got in the goggles. Anywho, so the quad flies normally, it flies fine. I think one of the things that I would prefer to is either a higher KV, I mean at least 4,000 kV on the motors, or just tri-blades. And I like tri-blades because of how they corner, and obviously with my flight style, especially inside, I do a lot of cornering. So that's a little bit my bias, but that's also something I think you need to know, as I have a couple of short-term crashes there. I hit the lamp again, but low speed crash. But I think from here on out, I have one right at the end of the flight, another crash. But this is going to fly for a good long time. Even whizzing about, I think I get close to 4 minutes, or right around that 4-minute marker in my house. Yes, our house is very good for reception. The 80s floor plan is open, and sitting at the kitchen table like I am is a perfect spot. Do keep in mind that the audio you're hearing, that does not, natively with the recording of this particular quad. There is no microphone on the quad. That audio comes from a cell phone camera sitting on the table right in front of me, and then I blend it into the production of the video so that you can hear it. You know how noisy it is or isn't. I also adjust the battery voltage to where the low battery warnings don't annoy us quite as much as they might normally. I don't leave those at default, especially with 1S. It seems almost foolish to me with a 1S quad like this to leave the battery voltage at 3.5 volts for warning. I am mainly concerned about what the battery voltage is after I've disarmed and let it sit there for a moment, because we get a lot of voltage sag with 1S flying, and so we get a lot of voltage return when we disarm and we're no longer flying. So that's the voltage that matters most to me. I try to get that as close as I can to 3.5 when I am flying, but I do miss it from time to time. The charger that it comes with, it's a standard inexpensive fair charger. It'll get you started, but if you're really into flying at all, I would say you probably want to spend $35 and get something like the Vifly Whoop Store or the Hex Charger Pro from Beta FPV. Those are going to be better off chargers. We'll talk more about the quad itself on the outside flight, but as you can see there, we finished a little bit over 4 minutes, and I'm adjusting my battery voltage warning. This is actually one in a series of flights that I had inside. So let's move on to the outside flight. Winds are negligible, but it's only about 74 degrees, if that matters. But I'm saying but a lot because we have not had typical summer. It has been very wet, and it has been very cool. Almost like if I were to be living in the Pacific Northwest, up in Portland somewhere. But the heat wave is coming. We're expecting middle to upper 90s this coming week as I record this, and some heat warnings with the heat index of around 108. Living in the Midwest, we get -0 and over 100 Fahrenheit temperatures here, so we're blessed with all the temperatures. Again, outside, I would rather it have tri-blades or more KV. I'm not against flying bi-blades, but usually the premise on the bi-blades is quicker prop response or better overall flight time because you have less prop, less drag. It's just slightly more efficient. But I think in this case, myself, the way I like to fly, I would just prefer a 4,000 or more KV more on bi-blades, or I should just switch over to tri-blades. I didn't try that because when I review quads, I don't try out all sorts of different props, especially when they don't give you those props. So the expectation is we fly them as they come out of the box. The only changes that I make is I set up the radio and the OSD elements where we expect them on this channel and where I expect them as a flyer when it comes to my radio. I don't make any fundamental changes, no PID tune changes. I use my own rates on every quad. I've had people ask me why I change rates. It's because I can't fly any of these quads as well if I don't put my rates on the quad. I'm not reviewing the rates. That's something you can change without any really significant impact to the quad because it's just one of those beta flight settings. The rates to me don't really mean anything because you have to find your own rates. It's not as though it's part of the PID tune. If you want the quad to be more snappy, increase the rates. If you want the quad to be less snappy, decrease the rates. It's really kind of a, I don't know, it's an oddity to me when I get those questions because I don't understand and I don't get enough context to kind of bring my mind around to why you're asking me about why I changed the rates. I use the same rates on every quad, and I've got a video linked down below, not about why that is, but I've got it linked down below as to what my rates are, because a number of people do ask me. I found these rates many, many, many years ago. I found they suit me. They suit the dexterity of my fingers. They suit how I like to fly. I don't know what that thing was right there. I kind of got full of myself and just tried to choose something unusual. I don't know. Was that good or bad? I think it was kind of bad. It's definitely wonky coming out of it, and yes, I did bottom out a lot. So I need to be better at the at the top end of the throttle. That was something that this quad kind of taught me, was that once it gets over, say, 70%, I don't do great with flying there, recovering up there. I need more prop, more RPMs on my quad in order to fly like I'm kind of generally used to, because I did bottom out quite a bit, especially later on in many of my flights. If you don't know, I don't fly these things for one day or one afternoon. I fly them over the series of about at least 5 flight sessions. And with 1S quads, that typically means somewhere between 8 to 12 flights per flight session. So 40, 50, 60 flights on each quad before I post a video or even pick out a flight to use is pretty common. Again, this is available on Amazon, and you can get the benefits of that and $35 savings if you're interested in this quad. Okay, now we're going to go over a few things about the quad itself. So it's got this little crimped holster thingy for this, and mine's gotten kind of loose because I have damaged it quite a bit. I've crashed it, like I said, a lot. And I would prefer that this is actually just something they put along the side at an angle. Let me get a pen. Then maybe a pen will show it. Like, make it to where it would clamp the antenna kind of up at an angle like this. It doesn't have to be super exposed. Of course, this is something you might do yourself as well if you find the video reception is just not what you would like. There's nothing that's stopping you from just taking this off and rigging something up like, I don't know, the electrical tape, just to tape it up here. I think keeping it up at an angle, because as you're flying, you do want the antenna, the head end, to be above that battery so that you can get, more line of sight to where you are. The better your reception, the less interference, the better reception. As far as batteries holding in, I did find that the batteries, all of the batteries that I flew, they do come out on a fairly regular basis. So one of the things you might want to do is take a strip of electrical tape, or maybe 2 layers of electrical tape, or just loop it around in order to create some additional friction so that these will hold in. You can also take a rubber band and run it around the big part of the quad to kind of get some additional downforce as well as rubber friction to keep the battery in. You'll notice here on mine, I've nicked the battery lead. You can see some of that silver of the wire sticking out. Yeah, that does happen a fair bit. I would couple times I got, like, if I plug it in, one of the things I would do is I would kind of use the antenna as a area to kind of keep my battery connection wires up out of the way. That's probably why my little holster thingy got a little bit damaged there. The little wire down there, that's your Express LRS receiver. Express LRS works so well that unless you're going for maximum range, I'm fine with that. I wasn't getting any telemetry warnings or anything like that. As far as durability of the frame, I was really happy with how durable this frame is. It does deform. It deforms to the point where you might not be able to turn your props, though. And here's one picture of, I think I deformed that whoop or duct at least twice and one other one once, but I only had the foresight to take a picture one time. But I just bent it back, just get the prop out of the way and just bend it back. In the moment, it's got to be this one. This one looks a little wonky here, but I just kind of squeezed it and bent it back. Yeah, you can definitely tell, like right here, it's a little bit deformed. And then I would, go fly. Now, if you land on top of an abandoned building and you've deformed that and you can't turtle mode, you're kind of in a bad spot. But overall, as far as a whoop frame goes, and with many, many, many crashes, the flight that I picked was relatively clean, considering it was 4+ minutes of flying around inside. And I think I still had 3 or 4 crashes in it. Some were more high speed than others, but I was pretty impressed with that. Let's just put it there. I do think these motor stems and these particular motors are a little bit bigger than standard, because it was really difficult to get the props off and back on. Matter of fact, if you look at it, see how high it's that was me trying to get it down there. And this is not my first day dealing with micros. Micros is all I do. And then if you look at this, it's all the way down. So from the manufacturer, it came back here. So let me see if I can do it on camera. I kind of was wondering about this. Oh, geez, that hurts. Oh, this, I could just, now I'm going to have to use a tool or something, or maybe take this prop back out and drill it out ever so different, slightly. But that's something that I think if you don't have, you know, Tiny Whoop sells the drill bits that you can drill out props. But if you don't have something like that, that's kind of a tough spot to be in, of barely being able to get a prop back on. So something to keep in mind. Also, look closely here. If this is a Caddx ant, and I think it is, but I could be wrong. I wish they would list it on their website. But if it is on their website, I do not see it. Let me take one more look to make sure I'm not completely crazy. It only says it's equipped with a 1200 TV line adjustable analog FPV camera. So the adjustability has to do with the angle. Now, it does have a port where you could oftentimes get into the settings, but they did not include the little analog camera joystick button that goes along with that port. But that brings me to the point here. Look, I don't know if this will come through camera, but these wires, especially if you compare these wires to our motor wires, those are significantly smaller. So they have used smaller motor wires or smaller wires than we do on cameras. I presume that's to save weight. Also, they've got a little area that the camera wires are routed through to keep them safe and out of the prop line. Hopefully I can show you that. It's kind of a hook right down there. Do you see it below where my pin is? And then they've got some black glue that they put on not only both ends of the connectors, but I thought I saw that in use one other spot. I might be mistaken, but so we've got the camera connector down here, and it's a lot smaller. It's becoming more and more normal, I guess I should say. But the wire that they're using, that was smaller than I'm used to seeing. So I always mention the things that kind of catch me off guard. Of course, here's the other spot where they use a little bit of that black glue. The UFL for the antenna. That is another good spot to put it on there, because those do tend to pop off in crashes. Of course, I didn't have any troubles. With the antenna being down here, I do think the signal quality could be improved ever so slightly, especially if you're in a less FPV friendly space. I did mention it, but I'll go over it. My camera angle, because I tend to fly at about 30 to 35 degrees, somewhere about there. My camera angle did change on a lot of crashes, and you may have noticed if you go back and look at the flight footage. I'm sorry I didn't mention at the time. Down on the lower left where the voltage is, there's a little bit of camera lens damage. I don't know if we can see that through. It would be down over here, but I don't really see it, and I've cleaned this lens a number of times, but you can see right over here, I do have a little scratch on the edge of the lens, and maybe that's where that damage occurred, where it caused that what looks like a smudge in the lens when you're looking through it. So this camera cage is not going to keep your camera exactly safe. It's better than nothing, but it's not uncommon, especially in these super tiny quads that we have our cameras somewhat exposed. But I do wish the camera did not change angles, because if you crash and you are able to turtle mode, for me, when my camera angles change, that means the flight's over, because I got to bring it over, change the camera angle, and then take off again. So I just changed batteries at that point, because I already had to bring it in. But again, we're all different. You might feel very, very differently. I mentioned it in the quick specs. We've got some feet out here on the edges. That's a nice thing, because these wires for our motor plugs do come down below the frame itself. So those feet help keep it from hitting here if you land flat. But if you land super hard and with the battery, you're going to get some, sorry, I had that out of frame. You're going to get some flex in the frame. You see how the arms are bending out ever so slightly when I press on these? So if you come down hard, you may still hit these motor wires from time to time on your landings. It's really, really difficult to see, but they're Phillips headed screws, and they're out here. Hopefully it comes through on camera. And then we've got the hollowed out center portion. The arms have some built-in wire routing, which is, it's good. I don't have a problem with it. If it wasn't there, I wouldn't be too upset either. But as far as some of the things they did with the frame, it's pretty clean and well thought out. for the most part. The hook for the camera wires, that's smart. They didn't have to do that. They could have just taped it up or something. We've seen stuff like that before. And then we also have this plastic that goes underneath the flight controller. So it's actually two pieces of a whoop frame. So you have this bottom piece and then you have the rest of it up here. This holster, like I said, I wish it was up here and held our antenna kind of up here at an angle, more proud. If you want to do stick batteries, when I say stick batteries, I'm talking about batteries like this that just have the connector built in and glued. You're going to have to rig up an adapter because I couldn't find a single one of my stick batteries that I could plug in. Well, I shouldn't say that. Anything larger than a typical 65 millimeter Whoop battery, 450 or above, I could not get this connector connected to those batteries. They just stick out a little bit too far when it has the connector on the end. So getting a battery with a pigtail is going to be important, or you're going to need to lengthen this or rig up a little extension adapter from the quad connector to the battery itself. So keep that in mind. Overall, I was pretty pleased with the quad, how it flew. I didn't have any sort of major flight issues. I could do the dives from my typical heights that I do. I could do all the moves I wanted. As I mentioned, for my own preference, would like either higher KV or it to come with tri-bladed props. But, that's something I can make an adjustment with later, is going to tri-bladed props. Give a little bit more oomph, a little bit more tightness on rails when it comes to flying fast and around corners. But I think some people actually prefer bi-blades. I think this actually, for someone that might be starting out, is a pretty good starting point. They do use known components that are on the market, and as well as the fact that it's got a pretty robust frame. And it's not going to be such a high performer that it's going to get away from you. Now, because it's 80 millimeters, it's not going to be as indoor friendly as a 65 millimeter. But it's definitely doable if you have the right space. It doesn't have to be as big as my house. You just have to be cautious and go slow and progress steadily. And instead of trying to go rip around your first time inside with an 80 millimeter quad, go slow, just kind of go around the coffee table a little bit. Do some figure eights in your living room. Most people have at least 8 feet by 8 feet in your living room. You can go back and forth wall to wall and get started slowly doing that sort of controlled stuff and build up to exploring all the little nooks and crannies and speed or tricks if you want to. But I was probably the most impressive thing to me was the frame and how well it had held together, because I had a lot of crashes outside on the cement. I tend to crash around the cabana area quite a bit, not into the grill, as some have asked, into various other places around the cabana. That's the outdoor living cook space. And it's covered in cement out there. So I, would hit that stuff and crash down, and it would kind of sound bad, but just deformed ducts at most and just reform them with my fingers, and off we go. It has potential to be a high performer in the right hands. I'm just not very good at flying at that top end of the throttle when it comes to consistent flying. Yeah, I use the top end of the throttle for powering over something, but I don't use the top end of the throttle when I'm actually consistently flying. The top level pilot would probably be able to handle that no problem. I struggled a little bit. But that is the R8, simple name, from StartFPV. Again, it's available and cheaper on Amazon, if available through the Amazon in your country. I'll put a link down in the video description. $134 with batteries is what I'm seeing as of this recording. That could change. But I will link that and to the manufacturer's website and wherever the R8 is available. If you are interested, you can take a look at the prices at those links and shops. I'll have them labeled down below. If you do have any comments, questions, suggestions, or otherwise about the R8, please let me know in the comments section below. I appreciate your time. Thanks for watching.